And one, and we're live. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Yes, Trina and I, you have to, if you could only be privileged to what we talk about beforehand, it
Mhm.
would blow y'all's away. So, favor to everybody. We speak favor in the meaning of the term. We speak in, we empower you to prosper. And if you're prospering, that means hello. By the way, these are the delinquents.
Yes, they
Uh,
are. They're little runaways. They got away this morning, and I got called at 5 o'clock in the morning, and thank God they were safe.
mhm,
They crossed a 4-lane highway.
mm, little runaway Sue there as well. I gotta say.
Yes. Oh my
They're
gosh.
not but anyway, empowering you to prosper. If you're prospering, it means in mind, soul, spirit, body, health, and always. And so we thank you for tuning in. Thank you, moderators. And hello, Miss Trina. What's up?
Oh, I am just, things is getting cold. Weather's crazy. People's emotional states are crazy.
Yeah.
Everything is off the hook right now, and I think that's because we're in a massive stage of transition. So change is usually hard for humanity because we're creatures of habit. So, it's going to get a little bumpy.
I feel like we're on the tilt-a-whirl. Do you remember that going to the amusement parks? I
Yes.
threw up more times on that damn ride, and so has a
I
lot of other
quit going
people.
on it, Wayne. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But you went back, but it's not, it's almost like now we can't even catch our breath.
Well, that's on purpose because they're really trying to drive the frequency and keep it low. So this
And
is
and, and to use a biblical phrase, we are in the time of a woman who is in great travail in giving birth.
yes.
The
Yes.
birth pangs are becoming so quick now
Mhm.
that at any time, what's about to be brought forth is about to be brought into full materialization.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
that's
it's
my
like
2 cents worth. I don't know.
yeah, and I really do think that we're birthing something, and what we birth is going to depend on our frequency and our consciousness. So we're going to have to really focus.
Boy, isn't that the truth? Someone says, hello, Kaz. Well, we got people from all over. Robert V is in the house.
Hey, Robert.
Spirit Woman. Oh, Julianne Payne. Like it must be like 4:30 in the morning down there. So
Yeah,
here's to the libation, the Julianne.
that's right.
Hmm.
She's such a blast, Wayne. I
She is.
just
I
love
saw that
her.
show. That woman. Listen, I am not opposed to having a glass of wine or two. And
Mhm.
someone like Julianne would be the one I would really like to probably get, with a
Oh,
full
could you
bottle.
imagine what a hoot? Oh, we would
I
just, it
mean,
would be so much laughter, 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 laughter.
I mean, by
We'd
the
be
time you get finished with
dancing.
the bottle, it's just like, it's all over. I don't
Yeah,
love it.
we'd be up dancing and shaking it up. And oh, yeah, it'd be
You'd
fun.
be
It'd be
talking now.
fun.
You're right.
Yeah.
Gaza is in the house and he says
I
it's 6 a.m. where he's at. He's down under his wire. Mary Wins is in the house. Hello. Sabrina Posey. There's a lot of people I haven't seen in here before. Someone
Hi,
said, what
everyone.
is the picture? This is one of my favorite anomalies of the sun. This is directly from Soho back in 2012, thereabouts. It's I think one of the best captures of something,
Mhm.
whether it was planetary or under intelligent design.
Right.
Very strange. I mean, and that's the sun behind me, so you can get an idea how big this thing is. Someone actually measured this, and that is actually 2.5 Earths. That's big.
That's huge.
It's like, hello, how y'all doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what
Anyway,
I think a big part of this anxiety a lot of people are feeling too is I'm wondering if we might have some, upfront, close and personal disclosure coming in the next 24 months or less.
oh, I get if less, yeah. I
Yeah,
think
because that the people would have um a premonitive feeling about the shock of what that would do on a planetary scale. Because a lot of people will absolutely go into shock. A lot of people are going to be like,
mhm,
finally. So there's going to be a lot of mixed reactions with that if it does happen. But I think a lot of people are sensing that. And a lot of people, like I said, that are fully asleep, they still feel all this stuff too, but they can't identify any of it. So it's going to cause a lot of, weird uneasiness coming from areas that you may not even really actually be able to see quite yet.
I call it the empathy effect. It's like
Yeah.
these people who are not empathic by nature because
Mhm.
they're asleep, you know.
Yes. Yes.
But whatever is here, I don't know if this is part of this galactic wave. I don't know if this is the true great cycle. I know that some say that this is the 26,000 year cycle coming to an end.
Yeah,
I don't know, but all I do know, something is afoot, Watson.
definitely.
Quote Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, when I was little, I was always told, you came here to win, guys. Don't forget, you came here to be like Jesus. You came here to win. So this means that, and that whole foundation was a very humble expression. His teachings were about healing thyself, loving one another, compassion, love, all that good stuff. But, the return is supposed to be kicking some booty, taking some names. So
I'm
I
writing my
think
book finally. I finally, I just for like
right
8
on.
months. Yeah, I just finally, it's flooding in, and spent most of Sunday writing. Um, in my book, I wrote, why a savior. It's one of the chapters.
Yeah, we're the
Because
savior, I think. It's got to be
yeah,
us. There's going to be no one else.
if
If
we
we
could,
don't do this, we're going to lose, I think,
yeah.
Wayne. It's game over.
And I was thinking about the whole construct of Jesus, if it was possible to literally take the words that are attributed to this Jesus out of the context within a Judeo Abrahamic Christian religion context,
Mhm.
and just simply be able to take the words, filter out all the religious programming, there may be a message in there that I think that would be more clearly communicated.
He told me he is us. He's us. He's us. He's us. It's
Well,
us.
that would go
It's
well
us.
with John, the 17th chapter. John, the Gospel of John, the 17th chapter is one of the most interesting chapters
Hmm.
in my feeling of the New Testament, because in that the Christ, Jesus, whether his
Mhm.
name, whatever his name was, it wasn't
Right.
Jesus. And
Right.
people got to
No
get
J.
realized Jesus is a made up,
Yeah.
name. But
I know.
anyway, whoever this cat was,
Mhm.
um, it begins to come into, he says, we are one. I
Yeah.
am one with the Father is one with me, and now you are one with us.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So
Yep. And it was all about going through that enlightenment process because once you reconnect to the spirit, that's a different connection point. A lot of people don't have the spiritual connection. They have the soul and the body and the emotions and all that, but they don't have the spiritual part. And I think that's the whole Jesus thing was that reconnection to the spiritual part of you, which where we all have it, but not many choose to activate it. And it literally is simply just the activation of the higher mind, your higher faculties of what you are. And when you do that, you do vibrate at a different level, as you well know, Wayne.
yeah, it is true. And it gets back to this. Our theme today is truth. How can you find truth in a realm of deception?
That is a great question. I was like,
Uh,
that is a good question.
I'm giving away part of the title of my book, but because it's a conundrum. I was up meditating late last night and went, huh? Well, all right. So I say that this is truth. Why do I say this is truth? Well, it says it's truth.
Right,
Okay. But who said it was truth? Well,
right.
I don't know.
I kept when I was thinking about that question because I was like, what a great question. Um, I kept hearing, truth is in the eyes of the beholder.
Okay.
So maybe you can only, truth is about what you can comprehend. It's like you can't comprehend higher truths if you have no language or any kind of visual or any kind of an image or any kind of information in your computer system
Mm-hmm.
as of yet. You can't comprehend a truth that you couldn't even fathom the existence of it. So I think truth is in the eyes of the beholder, because the more you begin to see, the more your perceptions change. And a lot of
Yeah.
the things that you would have swore were truth, straight up now are lies and they're not truth. But that's a process. It's a process of seeking. It's a process of raising vibration. It's a process of meditation. It's a process of letting go of what you've been taught so you can even be open to a new potential. Like I said, we can't create anything in the same consciousness that's already put it into place. So if you want something new, you're going to have to tap into some higher frequencies, some higher vibrations, and then you're going to be inspired by spirit. Then you're tapping into a
Inspired coming
different
from
realm.
in spirit.
Yes, and
Yeah.
spirits inspire. I see it like an arrow, like you get hit with
Hmm.
a lightning bolt.
Well, then we have to ask the question, then, so what did the Christ come for? And if we take it out of the religious context and let's get back into, because to me, this is it's stating a condition that has anything to do with the soul or the flesh. It really has to do with the spirit.
Yeah,
The
Wayne,
Rosh. I think
what
that's
I've
how they say
always
it in
seen. Yeah,
Hebrew.
remember I always told you there's a
Mm.
realm that we can't see, and this is where we come from. And
Yeah.
I've just always had some kind of awareness for that.
And there's a lot of people, we're going to be talking tomorrow with Marsha and Tina
Mhm.
we're going to do the wrap up on the forbidden religion.
Yeah.
It really caused a lot of cognitive dissonance with a lot of
Wayne,
people. I got a lot of emails that, wow, people were really struggling with this.
Wayne, that is part when I started reading the Nag Hammadi scriptures, which is the
Mhm.
same story, same stuff.
Yeah, I was
That's what
actually
happened to
reading,
me, and it wrecked
um,
me.
excuse me, folks, my wife says that I'm in a den cave of books.
Yes.
She says,
Yeah,
if there's ever an earthquake here, she says, I just hope to find you underneath. Uh,
right
like,
under the
well, okay.
files.
Because in the Nag Hammadi, it's really a very interesting read. I have it marked. Um, it's called The Testimony of Truth.
Yes,
And it's quite interesting if I can pull it up here.
it is
So
pretty
when you
fast.
look at this, you go, okay,
Yeah.
it alludes to truth
Mhm.
as not being something physical,
Yes.
as more of it's a spiritual, the
Yes.
best way I could say it, it's a
Yeah.
spiritual state of consciousness. Does that make
Yes.
sense? Yeah,
Yes. That's what I
yeah.
told you. When you get out of your own consciousness and get into the realms of your spiritual connections, you
Mm-hmm.
become inspired. You see things that you might not have words for.
Yeah.
You are getting information and gnosis that's coming from a higher mind, a
Yeah.
higher.
My struggle has been, and I'll be candid with you, I had decades of programming of
Mhm.
an image of a God that number one, I could never really tell you about.
Mhm.
Other than that, these the Great White Throne Judgment, which is in the 22nd chapter of Revelations, where this universe basically God rolls it up,
Mhm.
and if got the mark, then you're fine. If you don't, you're screwed. But
Mhm.
when I filtered that through the book, The Forbidden Religion, I said, in essence, it's really saying the same thing. It's just a different precept of how you're saying it.
Mhm.
This God of this realm, that's what it does. The Hindus call it Brahma.
Yeah.
And that's what Brahma does. Brahma, he creates and then
Breathes
he
out, breathes in.
inhales,
Yeah.
and yeah, and we're talking creations of universes.
Yeah, we can't fathom how big. Yeah.
So getting back to our theme of truth, I look at this now and I see the equation of the Christ in a different pretext now.
Hmm.
Not in one that's going to involve human sacrifice and all that nonsense, but
Right.
one that's dealing of a world that now I get it. No religion could define what the unknowable God would be.
Correct.
I mean, you would be designing a construct from the precepts of it.
Correct.
And
Like you can't conceive the formless when you're in form. It's not gonna
yeah,
fly.
yeah. I mean, it's like asking a deaf person to review the Beatles album.
Right, right. That's exactly what I mean. It's a whole
I
different
mean,
level of consciousness. And
yes,
that's what truth, I think, is just being able to get a little bit of that, and that's truth. And it changes you. And that is your truth because Wayne, nothing's real till you feel it. And once you see it and feel it and you've experienced it yourself, you're like, nobody can change your mind.
yeah, yeah. No one
It's
can.
done.
I mean, it's
Done. Can't unpop that popcorn. Mm-mm.
and again, where the Matrix came from. I mean, I know the brothers who wrote the whole story, but the fact is, you can't be put back into the machine.
Mhm.
You can't.
Well, I thought about that too, and I saw an exception to that because remember the teachings I received about the earth angels, the earth warrior angels,
Would they
and what
be
I
the
saw,
counter of Mr. Smith?
yeah, and but it's even better than that because it's literally like they decided to they're gonna
Hello,
they're gonna
Brenda,
they're
Milky,
gonna be like Guardians of the Galaxy for real, Wayne.
Oh, no, that's cool. That is really
Yeah,
cool. I
they,
could get
they
into
they
that.
have the ability to leave,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they're choosing to stay and further elevate humanity in the
Well,
system.
then that would make us the warriors
Yeah.
in the forbidden religion.
Yeah.
I, they're. I've had the strangest experience here since I've really been reading that book. And when you read it on the air like this, you end up reading the thing like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And you really get into the storyline at that point because things begin to take shape in your imagination.
Yes.
and,
Yes.
and
And I think imagination, that's your gateway to inspiration and spiritual teachings and practice and frequency. It's through imagination. Whatever you can vibrate and match with some kind of resonance, you'll bring in more information along that line of resonant vibration. Even if you can't perceive it or put it into words, you're still receiving parts. And then eventually it locks in.
well, where I have been here lately, I'm back in this void. I mean, I hear no voices. I sense no presence.
Yeah.
It's just, excuse me, I'm there now. I mean, it's to be candid with you,
Mhm.
for me, this darkness feels like a blanket.
Yeah, it says womb. It's a womb.
I just, I find myself being enraptured by it.
Yeah,
And
it
it's
feels to me
quiet.
like a womb, like there's all
Yeah,
potential in it. Anything can
yeah,
be birthed in that
yeah.
space to me. For whatever reason, I feel that that's a very powerful
Mm.
womb.
Again, hi Brenda, Milky waves
Hi,
on.
Brenda.
Good to see you, dear.
Love you.
Well, maybe it's just me, but we're going to talk more about this, but that's one of the aspects of this because I'm out there and I get the whole thing about becoming spirit. For most of my life, I would say I had more of a soul conversation.
Yeah, me
My
too.
consciousness was, or what I would consider what we would call, an angel here and a devil there.
Yeah.
good or bad, that's your spirit.
Yes. Yes.
And now I'm finding I really don't like my soul. It's like, yeah, it's just kind of,
When I had that serpent gnosis of that dream, Wayne, that's what I was literally. I was up in the astrals and I was with the Lord and I was yelling at him and I was like, if this is a trap and if this is all fake, and I was like, I will take my avatar out right when I'm done with you. I'm like, I'll take this avatar down, and I'm like, and I will throw this soul on the ground and I will stomp on it. I could literally see me throwing my soul on the ground and stomping on it. And when I did that, that was when things broke loose.
that's an
Broke
initiation,
loose.
Trina.
I know. And then I got the serpent dream that very same night. And it was weird because 2 days, maybe even a day before that, I was sitting in the backyard and a white dove flew into my backyard and sat on my lap. It was weird.
Hmm.
Yeah. So these initiations are real, guys. They are,
They
but
they are real.
yeah, they're powerful. And then after that, I went through a really scary time, which felt like I was in a void because that connection that I'd had my whole life, I kind of put an end to it. And
Mhm.
then there was silence. Remember, I told you when I was there with him, he wouldn't speak to me and he'd never not spoken before. And I was like, why won't you speak? And there was an issue with that. And then it was like, okay, and then I had to go through probably like a dark night of the soul, like the 40 days through the desert thing. Cause everything in my system, I think, was rewiring back to my spirit. And
Mhm.
I wasn't being, like you said, so connected to my soul construct. Now I was anchoring back to my spiritual construct. And they feel different.
So it kind of then because we know that this is happening, right? I visit the other channels, and I thought
Yes.
that the Andromeda 7 channel was a phenomenal kickoff.
Thank you.
Thank you, gals, and
Thank
and
you.
David, and are going to
Thank
do
you for
exceptionally
being
well.
there and saying
Oh,
hi.
yeah, sure. And I know Robert's doing good work over on the Soul Tribe channel, and there are other channels out there within this group. Everyone is getting their channel, and you should. Leave a digital avatar of yourself,
Yeah.
because, all right, let's really expand our consciousness now. One of the things when I was deeply into Christianity, in fact, I knew Tim LaHaye, who wrote the Left Behind series.
Wow.
No, it was, in fact, he and I, along with Phyllis Schlafly, we were in a very elite group. I'll just leave it at that.
Right
So,
on.
um, one of the modern day things is that the seers that were writing what is now known as the New Testament,
Mhm.
they did see something. Now, Paul wrote it as a catching away. In the Greek, it literally means transforming.
Yeah.
Um, John saw something similar to this.
Mhm.
Even the Christ consciousness alluded to something like this. Um, in the original scriptures, it said in the 24th chapter of Matthew 21st, excuse me, that when the Christ ascended into the bowels of the earth, the graves in Jerusalem were burst open, and many saw their relatives carrying their bodies around in the city. It's a very strange verse to put in there, but what they saw was what one would term a rapture, a catching away.
Mhm.
Now, it's interesting because if you correlate this, Trina, into the modern UFO abduction story, there are similar type of reports of abductees seeing a familiar scene. So my question, I guess I'm asking, could it be that they got the story, but they got the wrong group of players? What if it is us?
Could be.
I mean, I'm just putting it out there. I'm not trying to be religious about this. I'm just saying, listen, they got the story from somewhere.
Well, it's really weird. There's so many stories right now coming out about our history, and a lot of it is going galactic. So, um, You know,
Um,
the Jupiter Ascending, that movie.
Nicolas Cage in Numbers, his was about the sun going nova. And what they do? The the aliens came and took the kids. They
Yes.
genetically were marked.
And remember Knowing too? Yeah, that was
Yeah,
all of that.
knowing. That's it.
Knowing,
Thank
yeah.
you.
And
Knowing. Yeah.
then, you know, the Abraxas family in Jupiter Ascending, they come down and they take all the humans and they turn them into food battery sources.
Yeah.
So, you know, I really think that there might be something to that. And, you know, maybe this is like the whole you came here to win. Maybe it's the first time humanity's going to wake up and realize that, you know, we've been being used for food and stuff for a long time and finally put an end to it. Because I really do believe as long as you know, you can stop it. But you can't stop it if you don't know. And that's been the big gig is they've kept people asleep. So they don't
Marsha
know.
says, I like what she wrote. The solar flash ascension, the solar flash ascension Christ explains it as seeing it from the east to the west. You know, it's an interesting concept, Trina, that, you know, again, Jupiter ascending, I really enjoyed that movie just on the fact of the writing of it.
Me too.
The acting, you know, they don't care about that.
Yeah.
I look at mostly for what's the theme of the
Yeah,
movie.
the storyline was
The
fascinating.
storyline, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, fascinating.
And so Ben Davidson over at Suspicious Observers,
Uh-huh.
um, Lynn and I met Ben, met him twice. He lives right south of me, about 35 miles. Um, he's
Uh-huh.
coming out with a book first of next year on cataclysms. Now, Ben has been looking at the science data and
Uh-huh.
then looking at the ancient writings, and he is pretty well convinced, and there's many more scientists jumping on board with this. There is a better than even chance that within the next 50 years, our sun will go nova.
Mhm.
It's going to go nova. We know that right now that the Earth magnetic poles are in what they just, in fact, it is the U.S. Geological Agency said, and they literally used the word hyper accelerating.
Yeah.
So we know now where the poles are going. The eventually the new North Pole is going to be in the Indian Ocean, and the new South Pole is going to be somewhere off the coast of South America.
Whoa.
So is this what the people of the past saw? And then I asked this in the context, Trina, for the audience as well. Is this what we would then say is truth?
Yeah, and you know, it's such a conundrum when you're thinking about parallel universes too. Man, how many of these stories happened at a different place, but we have memory of it because we were there, and it's such a conundrum.
Some say the Garden of Eden story was never about Earth.
I could totally see that.
Never about Earth. It was
Totally see
another
that.
place.
I
And some
think that's
theorize
true.
it was Tiamat that got
I
wiped
believe
out.
that. That's what I'm thinking, or they called it Tara.
Tara,
Yes.
whatever. Yeah.
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 I do. I think that there
We
is
call it
some
the
truth.
asteroid belt now.
Correct.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
A mess
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of
Uh,
people do say though that could have been Marduk. So I get
could have been
confused on
too.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that
Yeah.
too, that the asteroid belt is Marduk, and then I've heard that it's Tiamat. So I'm like, it's interesting because we hear all these different things, and
Well, I mean, if you look at the fact that you're dealing with talking snakes, talking
yeah,
animals, I mean, you're in a place that doesn't sound like Earth. I mean, it's different. I mean, you got trees that are I don't even exist.
I told you, Wade, we're at the zoo dial.
We truly are.
I
and
know.
and so I think about this, and you know, what is it that Solomon said in the book of Ecclesiastes? There's nothing new under the sun that is not known to man, and that which was shall yet be again.
Yes. Yeah.
That sounds like the Uberus. This sounds like the cyclical cycle, whether we're on a short cycle, long cycle.
And it sounds like a movie. And they just hit
Doesn't
play
it?
and it starts again.
Yes.
The Truman Show, full on.
Lynn and I were talking Sunday night, and I said, I think I'm getting this now. She says, she just says, what are you getting? And I said, well, it's odd that something's wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
The earliest of our records is really kind of the Sumerian text. They're
Mm-hmm.
the earliest. Some would argue that many of the Hindu writings may be even earlier. I don't know, but they're all right about that same time period. But I said, I think we've been through this before, meaning an extinction. I said, because if you compare the Sumerian culture of 8,000, 9,000 years ago and
Mm-hmm.
compare it to today, we've advanced none.
Nope. Nope.
Well, there's a truth there somewhere. I mean,
Right.
someone's screwing with us, Trina.
That's what that's why I like, but we've never known. It's like, we have these kings and queens and things and storytell land, they rule the serfs and this whole thing, and the whole Jesus thing is the he's us thing. It's about community coming together, coming into our true power, because he said, the things I do, ye shall do in greater. The greater was because multitudes come together. And when we all try to heal a blind person as a big old group, guess what? They'll see. So, these were the things that he was trying to convey to me when I was little, was like, this is how you win. But apparently, Wayne, we've never done it before. We've always let the leaders dominate the whole group.
And when you read, for instance, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, it's quite a
Mm,
different story.
totally.
I'll share this with the group, is that when I look at Jesus,
Hmm.
my framework is back in the days when, I worked the Crusades with, Kenneth Copeland and Kenneth Hagin at Rhema Bible College and what have you. And I've been in these huge healing crusades. I've
Yeah.
laid hands on more people and seen legs grow, but I
Yeah.
was anointed. I literally had powerful men, which is really an initiation.
Yes.
Um, and the thing is that there we use the word in the name of Jesus.
Uh-huh.
Now, it's interesting because I would have told you 30 years ago that that was absolute truth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That there is no higher name that God has given unto man than the name of Jesus. But Jesus never was a name.
Yep.
But yet that name today, and I've seen it, will actually heal people.
Yes, it will. But he's us. If that's true, that means it's because we're working together.
Yeah. You know how I process it today?
Hmm.
I've thought hours on this.
Mhm.
It was us.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
we could have put
It can't
Mickey
happen
Mouse
unless
there.
it comes through our hands.
Yeah.
He would show me. He's like, God comes to this planet through you.
And it's
You.
that we all believed it as a group.
Right. And it
It
manifests
manifested. I
straight
mean,
up. It
you
has
know,
no option, Wayne, because we do it. We are that power. But that's the thing. We have been so bamboozled to go outside of ourselves and need a savior and need a leader or we've never trusted our own self and trusted each other.
it's so true. I
That's
mean,
where
when I
we
tell
stop.
people I've seen the work of the shamans in these healing crusades. Listen, I could
Yes,
actually at there was in one particularly where all I did was literally just hold my hand over people and they would fall in the spirit.
absolutely.
Men, women, I mean, they were out
That boom.
and boom, I mean, gone,
Yeah.
baby,
Boom.
gone.
Yeah.
So think about that. Is that was spirit.
Yes.
It wasn't religion. It wasn't
Yes.
Christianity. It wasn't about saving your soul. That was spirit manifesting,
Yes.
dominating over the physical, the spirit body, or what we would call the soul.
Yes. Yes, Wayne.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just telling you.
That's the spirit. And it is a power unlike any other. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think we've just been taught to label it wrong. We've been taught
Yeah.
to give our power away. We've been taught to think if we help produce a miracle, that it had nothing to do with us. And it's backwards. It has everything to do with us.
When Lynn and I first started dating, she suffered from headaches. And I told her, I said, I have the gift of healing. And I remember first time she looked at me and she said, "Sure you do." And
Mhm.
it's exactly what
Yeah.
my love of my
Yeah.
life
Right.
says. Sure you do. And so, I laid hands on her, and the intensity of the warmth that hit her, uh, it was profound. And she said, "Your hands are on fire."
Absolutely.
And I said, just receive what I'm giving you. Um, she now knows she doesn't suffer from headaches anymore,
Right. You've been healed.
because yeah, yeah,
That's one thing I see too, Wayne, with spiritual healing. It doesn't come back.
yeah, yeah,
It doesn't return.
yeah.
I mean, really, unless it's coming from an emotional place that they truly have not yet gotten down to the deepest core of the root. I mean, it can grow back if you haven't gotten to the root, but most often, I've never seen anything come back. I've heard they do, but I've never seen it myself. When
Yeah,
I've
I
seen
mean,
somebody spiritually get healed, it's a different kind of energy. It's a different situation, as you well know.
yeah.
They don't come back.
Well, it kind of leads you to the thought then, because as far as this God of this world is concerned, it's a mess down here. Um, I was meditating, and guess who came and just made her presence?
Phew.
That as the one evidence, if someone was to ask me if I had, what is the one piece of evidence that I would say that there is actual spiritual entities that exist, high ranking ones, and I'd have to be very honest and candid with them, and it was the visitation that Lilith came.
For sure. Yeah.
She's the only one, and it was definitely her. I mean,
Yeah.
people would call it the kiss of death, but it was, I'll put it this way, it drained every bit of energy out of me.
Wow.
The cold, it was such an intense cold. And I wish she'd only kissed me once, but she did twice on both sides. And I now know there's a significance with it. But that is probably the one evidence I know that there is something, I would say, of a greater
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
existence than just this plane.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Now, you do a lot of healing work yourself, so you
Mhm.
know about this. I mean, that's what you do.
Yes. And like
Yeah,
I said, Wayne,
you're a healer,
yes.
and you
Yes.
deal in spiritual energies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's like I said, that's when I started realizing, because I was in a big cast and demon person. That just
Hmm.
wasn't where I was brought into physical healings. It was just different. It just didn't come to me. But it did come to me a couple times. And that was when I realized like I have some kind of a spiritual protection. And because that day that we had this guy, but man, there were so many in his system. I mean, I lost count at about 60 or 70. It was really pathetic. And I was going through this process with him, but I wouldn't do it. I would tell him, you do it, you choose. And he's like, should this go or should this stay? I says, well, what does it feel? What does it do? But it was like, that was when I started learning not to throw them out because they just come right back. And the person that's affected has to do it. You can't do it for them. I mean, there's certain circumstances where their body is so completely bad, you have to intervene. But for the most part, it won't work unless they do it. They have to do it.
Yeah.
So I was teaching him that. And oh boy, I got attacked that night hard. Yeah, they broke my windshield in my car. I had a demon shoot up out of the freeway out of my car. We both saw it. It was a black mass. It looked like those Harry Potter ghost things,
Hmm.
like one of those. And it hit my window so hard it broke my windshield. And it was so funny. I woke up the next morning with a little hole in the center of my forehead, and my window where it was straight on my third eye, it literally had the sign of a cross on it. And he was like, dude, there's a cross where that thing hit your window. And he says, and it couldn't touch you. I was like, that's cool. Thank God, you know? But yeah, that's, I think, there's a difference between spiritual fire and giving your power away, power, and like false idol worship and stuff like that. I really think these are some serious traps. Even religion is a trap.
Well, it is a trap.
Trap.
We talk a lot, my wife and I do, and as I'm writing now, as I look at the initiations that I have gone through in my life, it's quite remarkable that I'm seeing the tally sheet now, that these phases of my life, for instance, the period of my youth where, my father just, literally almost beat me to death.
Right.
Years of that type, and coming out of that pretty well whole. And then
Mhm.
when I look at the whole experience, particularly learning transcendental meditation under the effects of LSD,
Uh-huh.
um, which were,
Wow.
yeah, but there were about 3 years there where I experimented with virtually all hallucinogenics. I never did any hard drugs. Never had
Right.
any interest in it. It was, the
Right. Right. Yeah,
psilocybin
it was about
mushroom.
mind. Yeah, about
Yeah, it
where
was
can I
about
go
the
with my
spirit.
mind?
Yeah,
But Wayne, you're a healer. You were doing amazing work, and when that power is coming through you, man, and that's probably why that power came through you, was because you'd opened up your mind so much when you were younger.
bingo. I think it
I
is
really
true.
do believe
Yeah,
that. I really
yeah.
do. I
I
really do.
mean, Lynn keeps asking me, she says, "So, what did you really see on these trips?" And I said, "Well," I said, the thing that I can say about particularly LSD is that you are in multiple dimensions. That's the only thing I can explain, and I know it's real.
That's
I
okay.
existed. The world that I was in, I would see, for instance, Trina, let's say I was looking at a wall. You
Uh-huh.
would see a painted wall.
Uh-huh.
But what I would see would be intricate designs of mathematic fractals coming in and out, and then they would begin to move into rhythms. And when someone would speak, I could actually see the energy of their voice actually transcend through the wall.
You know, Wayne,
That
one of my biggest, craziest gnosis happened to me when I was younger and I was experimenting with that. And I heard everybody's voices turn into robots. And it was tripping me out. And that was when I realized holographic universe. And then when I found that information about 15 years later, I was like, smack daddy. That's why I was hearing the robots. Oh my God.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
I would see people. There was one of the girls that lived in the halfway house I was there, and Kathleen Smith, still remember it. And I was walking upstairs at Family Connection, and I started talking to her, and she started growing these big green ears with
Oh
big
no.
and I'm looking at her, and she's talking to me really seriously. And I said, "You got the strangest green ears." I still remember that. And she said, "What the hell's wrong with you?"
Right. She's like, I don't have green ears. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
Oh, but I got to tell you,
So
I just
funny
saw them
too.
grow right up out of her. I went, "Holy
And
crapola."
you're talking about the patterns and stuff.
Yeah,
I would, because I'd only done it a few times when I was like 13, 14, junior high. I'm talking junior high, high
yeah,
school, first year, then never did it again. But a few times when I did do it, that was one of the things that I would see too. I would see the reality turning into fractals, into symbols and
yeah,
waves. Waves of light energy was my biggest thing. Like things would be going woo, woo, woo.
yeah,
And
yeah.
everything was breathing, like everything would breathe. Um, yeah, it was very, and being in a different dimension at the same time, that's a really awesome way to explain it.
I wonder if we were picking up the Schumann resonance of the earth.
Very possibly. That's a
I don't know. As I look
powerful
back,
thought.
I
No,
wish I
I was
had.
like, wow, Wayne, you could be right spot on
I
with that. And I
mean,
wonder if that's why a lot of people have these things happen naturally when we have these Schumann spikes.
I remember being up in Eureka, California. We went out into the Calaveras forest up there, and we took a hit of orange sunshine,
Mhm.
and that's when the fairy people showed up.
Oh, straight up.
I
Straight up.
mean,
You're matching their vibration.
yeah, I mean,
And I
it
and I
was the
think that's why
weirdest.
little kids can see them because they're
Yeah,
natural in that
they're
vibration.
natural on
They're
that. Yeah,
bouncing between those
yeah,
dimensions
yeah.
just like normal. And I remember that as a child, there was two realities for me.
See?
And that's why I thought I could
Yeah.
fly. That's really why I thought I could fly because I could see the two different realities. And it was a conundrum when I was a child. This was like, I was 3 years old. I could see both dimensions.
My brother recently reminded me that my grandparents, my grandmother particularly, always had to, he said you were always, he said you were never in the room. It's like, and they called it daydreaming back then.
Right.
And he said you were never in, he said, now that's the one thing I remember. They were always telling you, Wayne, where were you? Or get
Mhm,
back here. Of course I would jump.
mhm, mhm.
That's, I think, what we were doing, Trina.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why I
Yeah.
said the imagination, the power to daydream. Man, those are our superpowers, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really are.
Lost in says some window pane. Boy, I can. I
Yes.
actually went out of body experience. Lost in space. Lost in space.
Window
I
pane.
love the guy on window pane. Saw Creedence Clearwater Revival with Bo Diddley, and I came out of the concert and I ran into a bunch of people who were what we would call Jesus freaks. And
Yeah.
I had known these people when I was a ward of the state. And so I come walking out, and I'll never forget Kay Klinsman. She looks at me, and I am stoned, Trina. I mean, I am tripping. And and she looked at me and she said, "What happened to you?"
Right.
And I just remember walking off, and I actually, because of that, because that energy hit me so hard, that was one of my first real out of body experiences.
Wow.
I was out there, and yeah, and as you can see, my identic memory, I remember these events as though they almost happened yesterday.
Yes. Those, like I said, there's certain things that will not leave your
Yeah.
consciousness. It's like it happened yesterday.
So what do we do when we take that over to the other side? I mean, how are they going to go? Up here comes one of these. All right, put them in room 4.
Wayne, like I said, I really think that we've graduated. So when we go, we're going to have to determine
Yeah.
what we do next. So we're going to be faced with a choice.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, like you said, once you leave, you can't maybe come back. So a lot of, like I said, I saw a lot of they were deemed now Earth Angel warriors. They decided to stay in the lower densities because they really got off on liberating humanity and they got off on making
I could
things
see where that
better.
would
And
be addicting.
yeah, they like it.
Yeah,
So they
I could.
really,
Yeah.
really like it. And then so they were like, no, we want to stay and we want to be the ones who are the guardians of the new earth, like the guardians of the galaxy. And I was like, that's really cool. And then others, they're like, no, I'm done with this lower dimension stuff. I'm tired of being the rescuer, tired of being the savior, trying to be the hero, tired of all of it. I'm ready to move on to something different. And they're going to go to different dimensional planes of existence. And it's going to be, I think we're going to be literally looking at a choice because like just like when you graduate from high school you have to figure out what you're going to do with your life. You're going to go get a job, you're going to go to school, you figure it out, right? We're going to be going through the same
Some
thing.
do.
Yeah, some do, some don't,
Some
but
do.
yeah, and I think that's a lot of it. But like the ones that don't understand that they do have, that they are their own salvation and that you are eternally mortal and that really you're being harvested through a machine that wants to use you as food. If you want to stay and play that game because you're still sleeping, you probably will, because I don't know if you'll be able to actually get out because you've got to have the knowingness that you need to disconnect from everything.
You see, when we have these conversations, it pulls me back to 1971, 72.
Right on.
There was a particular beautiful, beautiful spirit. I've told you many times, you remind me of her.
Mhm.
And the group that I was associated with, it was all about the spiritual thing. We went out to West Texas and we did the Spirit Quest. We did the
Mhm.
sweat lodges. We did the vision quest of seeing, who is my guardian. And I apparently have quite a few up there
Yeah.
that surround me. But anyway, these were the type of discussions that we would talk about. It was, what is, it's going back. I mean, I'm back in time again. I remember one particular night we were all pretty stoned, and she said almost to what you said. She said, the purpose of us being here is that, she said, and she did this thing. She says, so this can shine.
Yes. Yes.
I tell you what,
Yes.
when I leave this planet, I'm going to have to say this. I got the best end of the deal. Yeah, it was hell, but you know what? We knew how to have a good time even in hell, right?
Yeah, and you see how your will is so strong, Wayne, and you said you saw them dragging you in. I
Yeah,
really do. I think a lot of us that have that much
yeah,
will literally agreed to come at this time. And when it came to it, many of us were like, you will not make me go. And we didn't want to come because we knew it was going to be really
yeah,
rough.
yeah,
And like I said, you do run the risk of getting trapped into the machine if you can't wake up. And man, that's a real thing.
yeah.
So a lot of
It's
people
so
are not
true.
waking up. They're
No,
not.
no, and they're
They
not.
won't. No, and they won't.
No.
They won't. They will go back in the machine. Yes, it's so weird, but I really think this might be what's
mm,
going on.
yeah. And I look at this eclectic group.
Mhm.
There, I I have been around many, many communes. I've been in nudist colonies. I have experienced a lot of what the soul and the body has to offer.
Mhm.
But I got to tell you, at this point in my life, when I see the amazing spirit beings that have gathered into this enclave,
Mhm.
I mean, such as yourself. I mean,
Too.
to me, you have added a light and a dimension, Trina, to this whole community, and
Wayne.
the inspiration that you have led, and now it's spreading. You um, it sometimes I'm just in awe seeing how it's all coming to fruition now.
What's so good? It's like you blew my mind when you were reading that yesterday. Because remember, I've told you, I keep
Yeah,
trying to process the serpent dream. It was so important, and I don't know if I have a full understanding of what it really all means. And then you were reading about the initiation, and I was like, my God, that's exactly what happened to me.
yeah, it's like,
And it blew my mind. It's like you're teaching me so much every day too, and helping me to reaffirm that which I truly already know and doubt, because the matrix is so
mm,
opposite. So
it
you
is. It
question,
sucks.
you doubt.
And again, when I see the other channels starting to grow now, um, the two things I'm seeing happening, it's not only the gnosis, but it's the rhema of the logos, the light of the word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And we're making it to become flesh. We're making it become manifesting. And if we continue on this path, no matter what the world condition will be in, there's going to be an enclave of us who are going to be able to see how to navigate this and never be in a position of lack.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if we could bring and give all of the gifts of the world to each other?
Mm.
Yeah,
We've talked about our school.
yeah.
One of the things
I
I
see
want to
this
do
way.
is to teach
Yeah.
healing.
And we need to teach children healing because
Yes, that's
they will
exactly
be the
where,
most profound healers on the
yeah.
planet.
And they're the ones
They will
that
change
when
them.
they get connected into that,
Yeah.
most of them will never be sick in a day in their life.
No, they will start to float.
Yeah.
I,
And
I I see I've seen the abilities of the new children unlock in my mind, and they can do things we can't even conceive.
I
That's how you
contend
see it.
that
Yeah.
there will be groups of people that are going to become, they're going to be immune to a lot of the noise, the white noise in the world. And I see, and I'll use the word enclaves of people coming together and teaching more about spirit in a non religious environment We are spirit beings.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to go that way because it'll stop my God's better than your God.
Yeah.
And we have been so deeply programmed for this program for thousands and thousands of years. And this is the main tool they've always used against us is my God is better than your God, not realizing that God only shows up on this planet through his children, through
Allison
us.
says, I am writing a conscious breakdown for the honest parent. Way to go.
Right
Allison, we'd
on.
love to have you on the show and
That's
promote that.
amazing. That
Yeah,
is
yeah.
beautiful. And that's, I keep seeing that this is, we need to revamp education. It needs to be quantum. I mean, we have
Mm.
so much we need to restructure. We need to start digging into our past and try to preserve what history we do have and see what else we can dig up. And a lot of these kids I saw, they have the projection uh, potential. Like I literally see these kids being able to literally almost put up a movie screen with their mind up on the wall that we can watch. I literally, and they have the holographic records of history. So all this stuff is going to come out through these children if we
I
can guide them correctly.
Yes, I think of the wasted generations that we have lost in our children in encouraging their unlimited potentiality.
They're
That
still
they don't
connected
have
to.
to be something, it's like you said, when you graduate high school, they want you to make a choice. You're going to either be a farmer, you're going to be a carpenter, you're going to be a lawyer, whatever it is. And I thought, how sad is that? Where are the philosophers? Where are the healers? Where are the shaman that work for corporations that can go in and heal the negative energy within these companies? I mean, if you're listening out there, Google and the algorithm, why don't you start hiring the witches and the shaman to bring them into your companies and begin to neutralize the negativity of the environment they're in? We begin to do that, and I'll guarantee you that will be a new dawn for this species of ours. Sorry, Trina. I'm just,
I know you're absolutely right. Absolutely right because this is how it's done. It's got to be done from the inside out. It's not
yeah,
going to come from the outside. It's going to come from the inside out.
yeah.
Everything's backwards and upside down, guys. You got to figure that you get everything, all your strategies have to be flipped around if you want to get connected to that which is real and eternal, which is spirit, because it's before matter. So,
I was
you know,
talking to a congressman and told her that, congresswoman, that what we need in the school systems is to bring back the trade schools,
oh,
because
yes.
trade schools are
Yes.
actually alchemy schools.
And not only that, it actually gets children a chance to try things with their hands to see if they like them. Like a lot of
Yes.
boys, they don't realize that they really love to wrench until they
Yeah.
put a wrench in their hands. They
Yeah.
they just don't know. And a lot of girls, they don't have any idea about sewing, but then they'll try knitting or sewing and they fall in love with it. And this isn't a boy girl thing. All people can do whatever they love. And that's another thing too. We need to stop saying knitting is a girl thing and this it's all things. All things, but all of us come in with unique, beautiful talents. And I think that's got to be the focus of this education is really digging into the child or the person and saying, what are your favorite things? What are you drawn to? Where are your natural gifts and talents and where do they lay? And let's look at those first.
When I was in the trades, I was a union, belonged to the painters union. I was a drywall finisher, but uh, the company I worked for, Guarantee Electric, they hired the first woman carpenter. Still remember her name, Debbie.
Wow.
And, it was amazing to see her talent. She was a exceptionally good finish carpenter.
Absolutely.
Attention to detail was just, it was natural
Oh
with
yeah,
her.
that
Yeah.
trim went
Yeah.
straight every time she
I
took that
mean,
nail to it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
straight up. That's what I'm saying. Certain
yeah,
people are just gifted. And
yeah.
I think it's because they've mastered these skills.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're still in you because you can grasp that frequency from spirit because you already have a library in the subconscious of it. Somehow there's a connection already present. So some of us are going to manifest gifts in one area and others will do it in other areas. And man, that's the fullness of it. And it's so beautiful because none of us are going to have the same or do it the same. And that is super, it's the greatest gift.
Do you know what's coming to an end in so many schools? They no longer have it. It was the 4-H clubs,
Oh,
where
man,
students could find for agriculture, husbandry. I mean,
we need that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, but you see, this is what
Not
I
only that
call,
too, we got to learn how to get back to growing our own food local. We got to stop a lot of the commercial stuff. It's hurting the physical avatars. So I
it's,
think a lot of things have to go back like ancient ways of ancient days, the old ways. The older stuff is going to start coming back in full force. And I think it's because it's necessary.
and I think we could actually blend technology and
I do
what I
too.
would call the humanities.
I do too.
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, I think we could
Yeah,
actually make this
yeah.
it back into a Garden of Eden, and the cities would be cities and the outer areas would be like the gardens.
Mm.
I could totally see that, and it would totally work
Without tyranny.
without tyranny. And then,
Yeah, it's
like I
like,
said, the slave
yeah.
system would stop because we wouldn't have people harnessing our
Mm.
energy. We would be giving it to each other, and it
Yeah.
would be immediate abundance because nobody would need to work more than 3 days a week. Everybody would be able to do what they loved and contribute to the world in what makes them happy. So going to work is really not going to be a problem because you're going to do something that you like to do. All of us like to do different things. Like a lot of people hate to clean. I love to clean. And that's why I'm a powerful healer because I can clean it up.
And I think if we ever could change the paradigm to where work became what my hobby is, what I want to put my
Hobby
essence.
and
Yeah,
also how am I being of service to my other people in my
yeah.
community?
My art.
Because
Yeah.
we need to feel important. We need to feel like we're doing something that matters.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
it's the basic need I think of most humans that's not being met is there's no acknowledgement of what we do. The only acknowledgement that we have is through the material system rewarding us. And that is not what we're seeking. We're seeking the reward coming from the people that we love and care about. We
I
don't,
love
the other stuff
this
doesn't make
group
you
in here.
happy.
A lot of women were in 4-H, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's and it's not because we're older, it's just we lived in a much more gentle time. Who would ever thought that he's saying the 60s and the 70s were a gentle time? But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And wouldn't that be amazing if we had like certain places that reflected different eras of time and we could take the kids to these different places and they could learn about these different civilizations and all. I mean, there's so many wonderful things that we could do.
If we could get into the spirit, teaching children about astral projecting, teaching them to lucid dream. I
Wayne, they
mean,
know. They'll teach
yeah,
us how
they'll
to do
teach
it. I'm
us.
telling you, I do. I've
You
done the
know?
hypnosis with the children. They freak me out because they're so fast. I can barely
Yeah,
keep up with them. I'm like,
yeah.
hey, wait for me. Wait, hey, they're so fast and they can do like they can heal their issues. Man, under 15 minutes, these kids know. They know how to do this work. They
They
remember.
do.
They know. And if you guide them to it, they just do it. They just know. And then like I said, I'm like with the kids, I'm like, hey, wait for me. Where are you at? What are you seeing? What are you
Yeah.
doing? They're just knocking their stuff out. I'm like, okay, what makes you sad? Let's look at that right now. And they're like, oh, I don't like this. And, da, da, da. And I'm like, well, let's handle it. How would you think that this would be better? And and then they'll just get quiet and they'll start doing their process. And then you're like, hey, what are you doing? And then they're like, oh, I'm done. I'm like, everything's good.
I'll share a true story with you. I worked in the nursery in one of the mega churches I was many years ago. And um, I watched this and it was amazing because the little toddlers, the little 3-year-olds, they're always they're doing what 3-year-olds do, toddlers, they just,
My toy.
yeah, exactly. And that's what happened. And two of the little kids came over and laid their hands on the kid that got hit with a toy, literally, and and said, be healed in Jesus. And that's the point.
Yes.
They knew that this worked. They went over, and the child that was hollering because did get hit in the head,
Yeah,
it was over.
absolutely. And it's Wayne, it's so funny. Think about it. When we were little and we got hurt, what was the first thing we do if we fall down and skin our knee? we would kneel and we'd hold our knee and
Yeah.
we'd ask mom to kiss it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And mom, kiss it, make it better. Because that's how we heal each other. Because when we get hurt, we need our brothers and sisters to say, oh, can I lay hands on you? Let me help you. And when you get that support, your body knows how to do it because it's getting the support it needs. It's like a chain reaction of magical, wonderful love and support. And it can manifest anything.
And add to that, we fail to understand our spirits need healing.
Yes.
I mean, in the book of Proverbs, it says, about speaking harsh words over children. It says, don't break their spirit.
Yes.
And there's a lot of broken spirits out there walking around.
Yeah.
Yeah. We call it the heart, but it's really the spirit. And again, since I've read that book, now I know the spirit's crying out. I get it now. Yeah.
Yeah. That's our fight though, Wayne. Do you see why we're
Mm-hmm.
spirit filled souls? That's why
Ain't
we're
that the
here,
truth? Ain't that
because
the
we
truth?
can hold that frequency and that higher vibration. And that's why you're a healer. I'm a healer. People that are drawn into this stuff, and it's you came in already infused with this, and that's why your chances of not waking up were pretty less, so much less than the majority, but you still had that opportunity to stay asleep.
Oh,
But
I
that
could have
fight in
become a
you,
real bitter kid.
that's what I mean, that fight in you, the spirit is what saved you, because you were constantly going into the higher realms, into the other worlds, and connecting to your own reality and your own thoughts. And that was where you were getting that spiritual infusion, which was so supporting you through this hard physical journey
Well,
that
that's
you
where
were
I went.
walking.
Those beatings,
Yes,
the after effects, you go inside yourself.
you have to.
Yeah. And I look back and I guess, to be candid with you, I wouldn't change a thing. I learned so much through that experience, as harsh as
You
it
know what,
was.
Wayne? I really thought about that one night. You know what my spirit told me?
What was that?
He needed that in his experience so he would remember to hate this place.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't that make sense?
Oh, it does. It does.
It's such a hard thing to think about, but it's like, wow, it's like, what's the benefit? That's one of, I guess, one of my gifts as a healer is I can look at the opposite end and say, how did this benefit you? How? It had to some way. I need
Mm-hmm.
to know how. And I'll really look hard to find those things. And it's like, I think if the same thing with me, if I wouldn't have gone through some really hard, massive disappointments of people are absolutely wicked, evil human beings, I don't think I ever, because I can always see the light in people. My mom's like, how can you see the good in everyone? And that has hurt me
You had
more
opportunity
than
to
less.
go to the dark side.
Yeah.
Very bitter, very, I mean, that is the route. Many times people, that bitterness begins to take root.
And for me, it's like you. I had to have those experiences come into my life to remember that I needed to get out of this place, and that I needed to remember that this is temporary, and that I needed to remember who I was. And if I didn't have some sense of dissatisfaction with my life, I would have never, ever, ever been able to see those things, and I would have probably stayed asleep
I think you're right, my dear. I
or
think we
gone
all would
back
have.
to sleep, because I was literally awakened when I was like 3 years old, and I never lost it. But through my life, there were times where I could feel the veil going over my eyes. I could feel it.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
trying so hard, and I would fight it. But yeah. So if I didn't know to have that fight, no way, it would have went
Mm.
down. It would have went over my head. I know it. I know it.
You know, and we're really gone over, but yeah, the experiences. I mean, living in the state home,
Mhm.
that experience, I you experience it firsthand as you have yourself in teaching, um, that so many broken. I seen so many lives, and they were all my age, younger, and what have you. But yeah, yeah, it there was a reason for
Absolutely. And that was,
it.
remember I told you, I prayed how to get through that because the trauma was so hard for me. And then that's when they said, don't you know that you're standing before the strongest of all creation? These are the warriors. I was like,
Well, I got to tell you what now.
whoa, that makes
I
so
think
much
I
sense.
found it. I think I found it, you know?
That's it. That's what I'm telling
Yeah.
you. They told me every one of these ones that you see, they are the strongest. They are the chosen. I was like, holy smack. Wow. So then I could find for them that which they had forgotten. And
Yeah.
I told them, I says, do you understand how strong you are? You survived. You survived this. You are so strong. You have no idea. And they had never, ever heard that. And it flipped the switch, Wayne. It flipped the switch.
This is what this group is about, because many here, we've all went through these travails.
Yeah.
And we all, and I can tell you, I look at all of them. I mean, y'all are just beautiful, strong people. Y'all are just warriors.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, Miss Trina. So
Yeah.
what's on your schedule this week?
Oh, just working. Yeah, I haven't had a lot of time to do much else. It's season and yeah, just busy.
Are you going to
But
be on the Andromeda 7? Is that
absolutely.
Friday
I
night?
like you guys are my priority. My channel takes second, but you guys are my priority. So always and forever.
Okay. So you're on Friday nights.
Friday night, we will be on Andromeda 7, and I believe that is going to be at 9 Central. And then Saturday, of course, Milky Way Soul Tribe. And sometimes I might be even on Friday with Robert too, because we don't conflict on our times. So it's totally open, and we're gonna just let it roll as it rolls. But every night, Friday night, Andromeda 7, every Saturday night for sure, Milky Way Soul Tribe, unless Robert has to work. Sometimes that happens.
He does have to do that.
Yes.
Is Robert single?
Sometimes, yeah.
Is he single?
Yes, he is. And he's like, he's out in the middle of nowhere and he works all the time. I feel bad. I'm like, dude, your life sounds like me.
You know, we got a lot of single, beautiful women here. I mean, the guy is a good-looking dude. I mean, you know, and
I
I
know.
think I
Robert
can
said,
say
get
that
a
being
little closer,
secure in my
Robert. Come on
manhood,
over.
you know.
I can't go to
Al
snow.
says it's 8 Central. So Big Al, thank
Oh,
you.
okay.
Yeah, 8 Central.
That's right.
All
Time
right.
just changed. That's right. The time changed. See,
Now,
you
are
guys
you
changed.
back
Right.
on Mountain Time or are you back on Pacific Time?
Well, right now it is 1:15 my
All right,
time.
so you're on Mountain Time again.
Same time as you now.
Yeah.
But 2 weeks ago, I was an hour earlier.
That's time travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, think about it. Okay, everybody. Thank you all. Tomorrow, join Marsha and a first-time guest, Miss Tina Bob. So
That
I'm
is
looking
going to
for
be
that.
fabulous, Wayne. This book is amazing. And I know a lot of people are getting really twisted up like a pretzel over it. And guys, it should be doing that to you because this is some deep stuff. And if you can get through it, it might be what saves you in the end. So take a look at it and go with what you feel and trust your own internal knowing. Just trust yourself. Do that, but just don't stop looking. Just keep looking and trust yourself. And if you do that, everything's going to be okay.
And remember the immortal words, if you will learn to doubt your doubts, you'll never doubt your doubts again.
Or we say.
Thank you very much. All right, so we're going to be leaving. Trina, stay with me. Bonnie says Wayne the matchmaker. Well, you know, it's not fun, you know. He's up
It's
there,
good to
what,
have
North Dakota,
partners.
South Dakota? Where's he at?
I think he's in
Somewhere up there in
Montana, I think.
Montana, okay. Yeah, so, you know,
really high as far as place.
if you're wanting to get back to, you know, the earth, then come on.
Yeah, he does the oil up there, you know.
He's a good man.
Yes, he is. Great man. And it's amazing because, you know, you watch people grow and change, and Robert's already just going in overdrive. I'm like, dude, wow.
He's got the hunger. He's got the hunger.
He's a medical intuitive, I think, Wayne.
Is he really?
It's starting to just show up for him. And I'm like, that is so awesome, Robert. Yeah. See? So super stoked.
What does Julianne say? Thank you for your gifts and talents.
Yes, that's
yes.
right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So wonderful things. You guys, we're all growing and growing together.
Just,
And like I said, don't let this knowledge twist you up. If it twists you up, just walk away from it for a little while, and that's okay. It's
yeah,
all right, because this is some hard stuff. I know when this gnosis hit me, it ripped me upside down for months.
it
So
does.
you are not alone in the issues with what are you saying, and this can't be right, and all the negative, angry emotions that come up inside you because your truth has just been messed with. And we get it. We do
We
get
get,
it. We really do.
I
Yeah.
like beans, but I hate lima beans.
Right.
All right, everybody. We love you. We'll see you later on.
Yeah.
Trina, stick with me. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.